My name is Maya, I was 32 years old when my world imploded. They say heartbreak feels like a physical pain. And believe me, that's the truest thing anyone has ever said. For 10 years, Mark was my universe. My husband, my best friend, the man I thought I knew better than myself. And then there was Lena, my sister, my only sibling, the one person I believed would always be on my side. What happened between them? It was a betrayal so deep, so twisted, that it stole the very air from my lungs. It's my story I want to tell you. It's not easy, and it still hurts to speak the words. But maybe hearing it will teach you something about trust, about love, and about the kind of pain that changes you forever. So, listen. This is what happened. My name is Maya. I was 32, and my life with Mark felt like a safe harbor. 10 years we'd been together. 10 years of building a life, sharing secrets. A love I thought was unbreakable. And then there was Lena, my sister. My only sister. We'd always been two halves of a whole, or so I believed. Then came that Tuesday. It was raining, a dreary, mirroring kind of day. Mark left his phone on the kitchen counter. It vibrated. A message lit up the screen. It was from Lena. Just 3 words and an emoji. Thinking of you. A simple text, right? But a cold finger of dread traced its way down my spine. Mark was at work. Lena lived across town. Why that emoji? Why now? My hand shook as I reached for his phone. I know I shouldn't have. But a dark suspicion had taken root. A poisonous vine wrapping around my heart. His password. Our anniversary. My fingers typed it in, a reflex I now wish I could erase. The message was still there. I clicked on the conversation. And just like that, the floor fell out from under me. They scrolled back many weeks. At first, Lena was just asking how Mark was doing, like a sister would. But then, things changed. There were messages late at night. They had little jokes that I didn't know. There were heart emojis that felt wrong. Not like between a brother-in-law and a sister. One message from Lena said, "Can't wait for Wednesday." Wednesday was my late day at work. A cold feeling went through me. Were they meeting when I wasn't there? Each word I read felt like someone hitting me. The love I had for Mark, the bond with Lena. It all felt dirty now, like something bad had touched it. A secret was growing between them. A secret that kept me out. The happy life I thought I had started to feel like a lie. Wednesday morning, Mark kissed me goodbye. "Big meeting tonight," he said, and he went to work. I tried to smile, but it felt hard. I knew he wasn't going to a meeting. The messages told me where he would be. My heart hurt so much. I wanted to shout, to ask them why, but I needed to know for sure. I finished my work early. My hands were shaking as I drove across the city. Lena's apartment building looked big and cold. It was the place where my heart was breaking. I parked my car down the street. I looked up at her window. The lights were on. I saw shadows moving inside. 2 shadows. It was them. I sat in my car. It was raining a little, like the sky was sad too. Tears came down my face. Minutes felt like hours. Then, I saw Mark clearly by Lena's window. He was laughing. It was a real laugh, the kind I hadn't heard in a long time. And then I saw Lena. Her hand went to his face, touching it softly. He leaned into her touch. It was a small thing, but it showed me everything. They were close. Too close. My husband. My sister. Together. The warm feelings I had for them turned cold, like ice in my chest. The rain outside got harder, like the world was crying with me. I closed my eyes. The picture of them stayed in my head. A betrayal that hurt more than words could say. I drove home, but it didn't feel like home anymore. The city lights were blurry through my tears. The love I had felt with Mark was gone. The house felt empty, even with my things in it. His side of the bed felt cold already. His laugh was gone. The quiet was loud and it hurt. I walked through the rooms, touching things we had bought together. Each thing made me remember what we lost. The life I had built, the love I had felt, was taken from me by the two people I trusted most. The future felt long and lonely. How could I live in this empty house without him, without her? It felt impossible. Mark came home late. He looked tired. "Long day," he said, taking off his coat. I looked at him. I didn't see the man I loved. I saw a liar. "Who were you with tonight, Mark?" My voice was quiet. He looked surprised. "What do you mean?" "I told you, a late meeting." The lie came so easy for him. That's when I couldn't hold it in anymore. "Don't," I said, my voice shaking. Tears came to my eyes. "Don't lie to me again." I walked to the table and picked up his phone. I showed him the messages between him and Lena. His face turned white. He knew I knew. The game was over. The truth came out. He told me it started a few months ago. He said it was a mistake with Lena. But the messages showed more than a mistake. They showed secret times, loving words, a connection that grew when I wasn't there. Lena, my own sister, the one person I thought would always be on my side. Her betrayal hurt more than anything. Mark tried to say sorry, but his words didn't mean anything. Our 10 years together felt like they were breaking apart. The love I felt was gone, replaced by a cold, empty feeling. The future I thought we had was gone too. The next day, Lena came to my house. Her eyes were red from crying. She said she was sorry. She said she felt a connection with Mark that she couldn't explain. She said she was lonely. Her words hurt me. How could she do this to me? Her own sister. The love we had, all the years together. Didn't it mean anything? I looked at her face. It was the face I had loved my whole life. But now I saw someone else. Someone who hurt me deeply. The pain in my chest was so strong. I didn't want to talk anymore. There were no words left to say. Mark moved out. The house felt big and quiet without him. His clothes were gone from the closet. His side of the bed was empty and cold. His laugh didn't fill the rooms anymore. The silence was heavy. I walked around the house, touching things we had shared. Each thing made me sad. The life we had made together was gone. It was taken by Mark and Lena. I felt so alone. The future felt like a long, empty road. How could I live here by myself? It felt impossible. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. The pain didn't go away, but it didn't hurt so much all the time. I talked to my friends. They helped me. I went for walks in the city. It made me feel a little better. Slowly, I started to do things for myself again. The anger at Mark and Lena was still there, but it wasn't so strong. Learning to trust people again was hard. But little by little, I started to feel a little bit stronger. The road ahead was still long, but I could see a small light at the end. I could see a future where I was okay, even without them. Little by little, I started doing things I used to enjoy before Mark and Lena's betrayal. I went to the art museum downtown. Looking at the paintings made me feel something other than sadness for a while. I met my friend Sarah. Not that Sarah. For coffee. We laughed about silly things. And for an hour, I almost felt normal. These small moments were like tiny lights in a dark room. They didn't take away the pain, but they showed me that there could be other feelings again. I started walking more in my neighborhood, noticing the changing leaves, the friendly faces at the local bakery. It was like I was seeing the world again for the first time, without the filter of my life with Mark. It was scary and lonely sometimes, but it was also mine. One day I was at the hardware store, trying to fix a leaky faucet. I was feeling frustrated and clumsy. An older man saw me struggling. He came over and offered to help. His name was Mr. Henderson, and he lived a few floors down in my building. He fixed the faucet quickly and didn't ask for anything in return. His kindness was unexpected, a small gesture that warmed the coldness in my heart. It reminded me that there were good people in the world, people who cared without wanting anything back. It made me realize that my trust might have been broken by two people, but it didn't mean everyone was like them. It was a tiny crack of light in the heavy darkness I had been living in. A few weeks later, a letter arrived. It was from Lena. My hands trembled as I held it. Part of me wanted to rip it up without reading it. Part of me felt a cold, morbid curiosity. I put it in a drawer and left it there. Days went by. The letter sat there, unopened, a physical reminder of the pain she had caused. I knew it would be full of apologies, maybe excuses, but I wasn't ready to hear them. I wasn't ready to forgive. Maybe I would never be. The letter remained unopened, a silent testament to the broken bond between two sisters. It felt like a heavy weight in my room, even though I hadn't read a single word. Slowly, I started to find my voice again. I started saying no to things I didn't want to do. I started asking for what I needed. I realized that I had spent so long trying to be the person Mark and Lena wanted me to be. I had forgotten who I was. Now I was starting to remember. I joined a book club at the local library. Talking about stories with other people, sharing my thoughts, felt good. It was a small thing, but it was mine. It wasn't about Mark or Lena. It was about me finding myself again, piece by piece. Each time I spoke my mind, each time I did something for myself, I felt a little bit stronger, a little more like the Maya I used to be. One cold afternoon, I was walking in Millennium Park. I saw Mark. He was with Lena. They were holding hands. My breath caught in my throat. It felt like a punch to the stomach. For a moment, the old pain came rushing back, sharp and strong. But then, something shifted inside me. I didn't feel the same crushing sadness. I felt pity. Pity for them, for the small, selfish world they had created. I turned and walked the other way. I didn't want to see them. I didn't want to hear their excuses. They were strangers to me now. It hurt, yes, but it wasn't the same all-consuming pain. It was a reminder of a closed chapter, a part of my past that I was slowly leaving behind. I started making plans for myself. Small plans at first, like a weekend trip to see a friend in another city. Then bigger plans, like going back to school to learn something new. I realized that my life didn't have to be defined by what Mark and Lena did. I could create my own future, a future filled with things that made me happy. It wasn't easy. There were still days when the sadness felt heavy. But now there was also a sense of hope, a belief that things could get better. I was starting to look forward again, instead of just looking back. Lena's letter still sat in my drawer, a silent accusation. One evening, I finally took it out. I looked at her handwriting on the envelope. It used to make me feel warm. Now it just felt distant. I decided I didn't need to read her words. They wouldn't change what happened. They wouldn't take away the pain. I took the letter and walked to the kitchen. I lit a match and held the envelope to the flame. It burned quickly, turning to ash in the sink. It felt like a small act of letting go, a way of saying that her words no longer had power over me. Through my book club and my walks in the neighborhood, I started meeting new people. People who didn't know my story. People who saw me for who I was now. I made a new friend, a woman named Olivia, who shared my love of art. We spent hours in museums, talking and laughing. It felt good to connect with someone who didn't have a history with Mark or Lena. It was like building something new, something just for me. These new friendships were like fresh air, helping me breathe easier. Months turned into a year. The sharp edges of the heartbreak had softened, replaced by a quiet strength. I wasn't the same person I was before. I was stronger in some ways. I knew I could survive pain. I knew I could rebuild. The scars were still there, a reminder of what I had been through, but they didn't define me. I had learned to live with the sadness, to carry it without letting it weigh me down. I had found a quiet resilience within myself that I never knew existed. One day, I realized that the anger I had been holding on to was hurting me more than it was hurting Mark and Lena. It was like carrying a heavy stone in my chest. I decided to try to let it go. It wasn't easy. It took time and a conscious effort. But slowly, the anger started to fade, replaced by a sense of acceptance. What they did was wrong, and it hurt me deeply. But holding on to anger was just keeping me stuck in the past. Letting it go felt like a weight being lifted. I started focusing on the present moment. I took a pottery class. I started volunteering at an animal shelter. I found joy in simple things. A sunny day, a good book, a laugh with a friend. My life wasn't the one I had planned, but it was mine. And I was starting to find peace in it. The memories of Mark and Lena still surface sometimes, but they didn't have the same power to hurt me. They were just memories, part of a chapter that was now closed. 2 years had passed since Mark left. I wasn't looking for love, but one day I met someone new. His name was David. He was kind and funny, and he saw me for who I was now, not who I was before. We started slowly, as friends. There was no pressure, just easy conversation and laughter. It felt different from my relationship with Mark. It felt healthy. It was a reminder that even after deep heartbreak, new beginnings were possible. Learning to trust David was a slow process. The scars from Mark and Lena's betrayal ran deep. There were times when I was scared, when I pulled away. But David was patient and understanding. He showed me, through his actions, that not everyone would hurt me. Slowly, cautiously, I started to let him in, a little at a time. It was a risk, but it was a risk I was willing to take. The love I found with David was different from the love I had with Mark. It was quieter, perhaps, but it felt more solid, more based on true connection and respect. It wasn't built on a foundation of shared history from a young age, but on a shared present and a hopeful future. It showed me that love could come in different forms, and that healing didn't mean forgetting the past, but allowing space for something new and good to grow. Looking back, the pain I went through was immense. The betrayal by Mark and Lena changed me in ways I never could have imagined. But I survived. I rebuilt. I found strength I didn't know I had. My story is one of heartbreak, yes, but it's also a story of resilience, of finding my own way, and of discovering that even after the deepest wounds, healing and even happiness are possible. It took time and it wasn't easy, but I am still here. My heart is scarred, but it still beats. And my story, my strength, is proof that even after the darkest night, the sun will eventually rise again. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope this story helps you learn English more. Like, share and comment your thoughts on the comment section below.